Welcome to Unbiased and On the Fence. We are just chatting it away, having a good time. Yes, I did notice somebody said it's 11:11. It's 1:11 for me, and it's
Ooh,
11:11 for you, isn't it? That's wild.
yay. What
That's
time is
cool.
it here? Oh
Yeah.
yeah,
Well,
11.
11:12 now. It just went up.
Yeah. Missed
Allison
it.
Coe is in the house. How are you doing, Allison? It's good to have you
Man,
back.
never better. Life is good.
Been
Life is
enjoying
good.
life. That's cool.
Yeah, I'm having a great time. I told you earlier my daughter fractured her elbow this weekend, so that kind of puts a damper on her life, but
That is
mine is
such a
still good.
bummer.
Just takes longer to get things done. I feel like I have
Yeah.
a 4-year-old again, putting the pants on, putting the shirt on. No, but
Oh
life,
yeah.
other than that, life is delicious. I'll tell you.
Do you have how many? Is that your only child, or do
I
you?
only have one. I
Oh,
only have
okay.
one. Yeah.
Handful too, aren't they? I've got
Oh,
five, so it's
what?
yeah,
That's
four.
right. You always shock me with that.
Yeah,
I
four
mean,
girls and a boy.
oh, wow. Wow.
Yeah, but we
That's
actually we had a space between the first two and the second grouping of three. So actually, my oldest is 25 and or just about 25 at the end of this month, and then is my phone ringing? I told them later. Sorry about the vibrating sound. And then my youngest is 11. So it's
wow.
cool whenever we see 11:44 on the clock. That's like our number because I'm 44 and he's 11. So we see
Aw.
11:44 and it's like the synchronistic number for us, and
For,
it's
for 1 year only, right?
yeah for 1 year only. Yeah, and then it's gonna change to what
12:45.
12:45. Yeah, a quarter to one. It's a quarter to one. It's our time. So
Oh, that's funny.
yeah, it is wild the way that happens because my mom's birthday was 11:11. So whenever
Oh,
that would
great.
show up on the clock, I'd feel like she was saying hello and stuff. And I didn't know anything about synchronicities way back when she passed away. So
Yeah.
then all these synchronicities start happening, and it's like she's like, "Hey, hey," all the time with 11:11.
Yeah.
It's really neat the way. Do you get
And
lots of synchronicities too?
all the time, all the time. And I know nowadays I'm so used to it that I know I'm doing something wrong if I don't have a crap load of synchronicity show up in my life. I'm like, wait, I'm pointed in the wrong direction, or I'm thinking the wrong thing, or I'm doing the wrong thing because I haven't seen these numbers repeat, or I haven't been getting messages because it's a dialogue from the universe to you to let you know, hey, you're doing this great, blah, blah, blah. You're doing a good job.
Yeah,
And so yeah, when those go missing, I'm like, what am I doing? What am I doing wrong? Am I
yeah, totally.
dumbing and numbing and out of it? I'm not sure.
Yeah,
So yeah,
totally.
plenty of those.
And my son gets a bunch of them too. He's always like, he'll see because he plays games, so he'll see like the score or this and that in the game or the time counting down. And
Yeah.
he's been talking about seeing them so much lately, and we sit together quite a bit, and we'll just point at the time or point at something on the computer, a synchronistic number or something. They're always coming up, and he'll just shake his head like, why does it happen so much? You know what I mean? But it's really been ramping up for us. It's
You
really
know
wild.
that is such a cool thing that you're doing with him, because what it is, you can't see synchronicities if you are not present in the moment. And so you're constantly bringing awareness back to the present moment anytime you're either looking for them or you notice them. And so that's a huge gift to be able to give your son, give someone who's 11 that gift,
Yeah.
or they're giving it to you. I can't tell which.
Yeah, really. Yeah, he brings me back to the moment quite a bit. And I'm like,
Yeah.
wow, I would have
Yeah,
totally
that's
missed that
great.
one. Because we don't really
Really.
look at the clock all the time, so it's like,
Yeah.
it's just strange that you don't look. I've had it where I like look at 3:33 and don't look again until 4:44, and it's like, what the heck? It's amazing.
Yeah, that was, yeah, every day lately it's been 333, 444, 555. I'm like, what? This is amazing. I'm on a roll today.
Yeah, yeah, and you know what? It's funny because I've actually tossed around the idea. I'm like, maybe I'm looking in between and I don't realize it because of it's like an out of synchronicity, so it doesn't catch my attention. But then there's times when like I don't have the time like on the computer like readily where I can't look at it. I have to like reach over and hit the button on my phone. So I know I didn't do that. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
it's like I hit it and it's 444 and it's like, what? It's just wild.
This is amazing.
Yeah, it is. It's like this connection with the divine that you can't see, but it's definitely their way of communicating with us. And I don't know how many times I have an idea for a video or something, and
Yeah.
I look down and I'm looking at the synchronistic time. I was just sharing this the other day. I got an idea for a video and I looked down at the time and it was 12:12. So then I tell my son this idea and the synchronicity and all this. And when I get done telling him, I got to the end of the story and I said, and then as I thought about all this, I looked down at the time and it was 12:12. And then as I told him that, I looked at the time and it was 1, 2, 3, 4. It was 12:34. So it took 22 minutes to tell him this whole spiel about, my idea or whatever. But it ended with a synchronicity, telling about the synchronicity.
That is so cool.
Yeah.
That is so cool. I was wondering, do you come up with all your own ideas for the shows? Because you are prolific, man. You are always on.
You wouldn't believe how, they come in all sorts of ways. It's like, I'll just get an idea and I'll feel like it's my idea. And then later on, I'll get synchronicities or things that are connected to that. And then I'll do the video and then I'll see other people put out similar videos. Or people will leave a comment and they'll be like, I was just thinking about this. And it was like, it wasn't my idea again. I just don't realize it. Yeah, I mean, some people realize it. They're like, yeah, I channeled this information and I could tell it came from a higher source, but I'm not like that. I usually don't realize until after the fact,
Yeah, it's like you're touching the frequency band where that information exists and you're just like, you're all of a sudden connected and then you're getting it. Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah, it's impressive. But it's impressive that you act on it so much. I mean, you are on the air. I'm going to interview you for a little while. Sorry.
No, it's all good.
On the air so much. How many shows a week do you do?
Usually around 5. I had a few, where I, canceled or rescheduled or something, but typically around 5 or 6, and Sunday's usually my day off that I'll work on like an uploaded video, a video I plan to upload, and I work on that in between. So yeah, going nonstop, and it's great because it provides a place for people to come and hang out, and
you have a good crew here always. I love the love from your chat room, man.
It is. It's like a little love tribe right here.
It is.
And you're part of it. It's great.
Yeah, I try to be. Sometimes I'm not on YouTube. I honestly, Shane, since probably February, I haven't been on YouTube more than like a couple times a month. Right. Usually, just kind of not trying to decrease the amount of information that's coming at me from outside sources, because the information that comes from the inside is so powerful and so true and so dependable for me that feeds me, that guides me. And anytime it's cluttered with something that's coming from the outside, no matter if it's good intentions or not, it's not mine, it's filtered through somebody else's. And so I had to decrease that, because I was off kilter a little bit in like February and January. I was like, why do I feel so strange? And that's what it was. So since then, been on a diet.
Yeah, it is good to pull away and not get that, because you get a little bit of everything when you're on the internet. I mean, you get a lot of support and love, but you get a lot of the other end of it too. And it's like, no matter how much you explain something to people, it's like they still hit you up with the very thing you explained to them. You're like, I covered this like 3 or 4 times before, and it's. But
you don't have to tell me, buddy.
One of the videos you put out, I was going to put some. You had the comments off, and I'm like, I understand, sis.
Yeah, absolutely. Just no input.
Right,
I don't
because
need any input.
It's just, it takes so much time. I put out a video, I don't know, in my first year, and it was about one of the attacks or something. And oh my gosh, it took me all day long to just moderate the chat, because people can be so mean and vicious, but I like people to be able to speak their opinions and stuff, but most of them just don't know how to do that and be polite. It's like, dude, I can't teach everybody manners here. I've just got to delete your comment,
And if people are talking to each other, generally they filter themselves face to face. They don't just blurt out everything that they're thinking. But when a person is on their keyboard, they forget that ability. It just kind of disappears, and it's almost having mind reading capabilities. I don't know if you've ever seen those like old Disney movies or whatever, where somebody is in high school and all of a sudden they can read people's minds, and then by the end of the day they're like, trying to go crazy because they hear all these crazy thoughts. I think the last one I watched like that was Buffy the Vampire Slayer, but the person like is going crazy. And that's almost what it's like when you have comments open. People will actually type up their thought without giving that thought any thought, without filtering it at all, or without listening to what you're saying, listening to the next thing you're saying or the next thing. And it just, it kind of drove me a little bit crazy. I needed to decrease that input for sure. And even when they have nice things to say, it's almost like an ego boost. And when they have, maybe not so nice things to do, it deflates the ego. And so it's all an ego game. And if you're trying to not feed the ego or trying to kind of decrease the ego a little bit, put it in its place, then I had to, you got to take yourself out of that game.
It is tough to do, but it's great practice. And I find that, where you're talking about some people, like the anonymity of being online makes it to where they'll say things they would never say in person. And for me, I'd use it as actually the opposite. It's like, I'll feel triggered about something. I'll take a deep breath and I'll respond in the way that I know I should respond because I have that moment to, I'm not rushed to sort of, in person, I might have slipped something out, the filter. but in a comment, I can take, center myself. And I think a lot of times, I don't want to say channel, but it's like I get whatever information the person needs in that comment to sort of help them along because I'm able to pull back from it for a moment and get out of ego and how I feel triggered about it, because a lot of times it'll be, I don't know, something religious or, you're working for the devil or something, and then I'll have that moment to pull back and I'm like, well, have you considered this scripture, and I'll be able to sort of meet them where they're at, what they're thinking, because a lot of times I've been there. Maybe I wouldn't have said those things to people, but I would have probably thought it when I was heavy into religion way back in the day, So I can like point at the scripture that sort of got me out of it at the time. And so a lot of the time that I spend in comments, that's really a big part of it too, and that's one of the reasons why I'm glad I haven't grown so big, because I think that's a really important part of it, not just putting out the videos, but responding to each comment, and to be able to do that, like everybody's a new person every time, and you don't get tired of the same comment over and over again because that's their first time of leaving it, and maybe they just stumbled across your video. So it can be rough, but it's great practice for me because I don't get out much,
Doesn't sound like it if you're doing this 5 days a week. Lord. You're a keyboard warrior for sure, but a light warrior.
Totally. Yeah. And I love doing what I do, and I'm busy too, but you're totally busy. So when you're able to hop in for a second and say hi, I'm totally thrilled to have you hop in because I know how busy you are,
Thank you. Yeah, I love it. I try to stay extremely busy here and with life generally. I'm lifing.
Totally. Yeah, you can't neglect life completely, but yeah, I am running around doing this, and then of course, I've got, like I said, 5 kids, and their cars are breaking down, and they expect me to be their personal mechanic and stuff, which is cool. I know how to fix stuff, and I can save them money, so I totally don't mind. But it is those unexpected things that you have to deal with that. You can't neglect your family while you're helping everyone else. So, but
no,
like
you can't. And just because your kid is 25 doesn't mean they don't need you. I'll tell you, my dad is a father of 5 kids, and all 5 of us need that dude almost all the time. All the time, we're like, Dad. So,
I will tell him this is going to be like $300 if you have to go somewhere and get it fixed. I'm like, but the part's only $40, and I'll put it in there for you. So just so they know, I'm saving them a little bit of money. I make sure they know. But
you know how awesome I am.
Right.
You $265 or 55.
Right, just so they appreciate the the shade tree mechanic dad that they have. It's funny, but yeah, it's a lot of fun. I'm glad I'm able to do it, and I'm glad that they appreciate me too. So it's cool. We all have a great relationship, and it all works out to where it's like those times like that can actually be turned into good times of spending time together too. So.
Oh, absolutely.
There's totally a bright side, to everything if you can find it.
I agree.
Well, since the last time you were on, I took the BQH course, and I actually practiced on my daughter, and I was blown away. I don't know. I knew it was going to work, but when I actually started working, it like I was like kind of freaked out. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's really working. You know what I mean? And it's so neat to do it, and I can't wait to practice on more of my family. I've been so busy doing videos or whatever, but it is really a cool course, and I learned so much from it. Have you been able to check out any of it? I know that you already did the you already do the QHHT, but
yeah, I have checked out some of the course. I haven't done like every single step of the course, but the material is so well done, and it's so inclusive, and it's beautiful. It's a lovely, lovely course, but I haven't taken like every like second of it because I haven't had to.
right. But you're aware of like the water alchemy and all the other little bells and whistles that come with it that are so cool.
You know, I didn't listen to the water alchemy one yet, but because I was like, hi. Sometimes when I hear things, I'm like, yeah, I think I know that, but
Right.
but maybe I don't. Like, shit, maybe I should go back and learn the water alchemy one. But yeah, it could be. Does it have to do with Dr. Emoto's work or anything, or that same concept of
Yeah, it's just
lessons?
basically putting the intentions in it with the practitioner and the person of the intentions for the meeting, and then like
Yeah.
putting it in the water and then drinking it as
Ooh.
it's kind of like a ritual. It's not anything really voodoo-ish or anything about it. So, you know, no worries for any ultra religious people or
Yeah.
whatever. It's nothing. It's just sort of like acting out in the physical, sort of your intentions, you know, for the meeting or
Yeah.
whatever. And I felt like
Yeah.
it was really cool the way it's like, you know, drinking the intentions and then acting them out. You know, it's like, I don't know. I think it's good sometimes for us to have that mental image in the physical realm of sort of what's happening, what's going to be playing out. You know, so it
Yeah,
had
and that
that, and
stuff, that invocation stuff, and that changing of water molecules, that works. It's
oh,
powerful. It
totally,
it is, there is some power in that, man. So yeah, that hits for some people. They need that. They need those extra steps of ritual. And so
yeah.
that's very cool. Yeah. I
Yeah,
should
and
start
actually,
doing that.
when I had Candace on, I don't know if you saw the video with Candace, but we had this. She had this picture of this beam of light going through the water during the water alchemy session. Did
Yeah.
you?
Yeah, I've seen that picture, and I did watch your show with Candace. Yeah.
What was her name? Priscilla. I thought that was
Oh,
such a pretty
Priscilla
name.
Louise. I think
Yeah,
that's her name.
that's such a
Yeah.
cool name.
Yeah. But yeah, that beam of light, that is
Yeah,
crazy. Crazy. It's like a column of light coming down. And they
yeah,
captured it. They didn't realize they captured it on film. They didn't even see it with their naked eye. And then they look at the picture and they're like, holy moly, there's like a column of light coming down into the water as we're doing that water alchemy thing.
yeah,
That's so
yeah. That's
brilliant.
giving me chills just thinking about it again.
Yeah, that's power. That is power, man.
When I was
Yeah.
doing the course, there was another spot where there was like this, I don't know, it looked like an angelic apparition or something in front of the camera for a few frames, and I was like, wait a minute, what was that that just passed in front of the frame? I'm like, that wasn't dust, man, and I'm like rewinding it and putting it in slow motion, and I couldn't wait to show Candace because it looks like the bottom of like an angel's garment or something that, and it was
Uh,
right at the moment that they were sort of bringing in the protection before the session from
yeah.
the higher guides or whatever, and then you see this, it's like they just showed up and we just saw a little glimpse of it happening. It's so cool.
It's so cool. That stuff is there. That's the thing. That stuff is there all the time. It's just sometimes we're able to get a minor glimpse of it, and it just blows our mind. But the air is thick, full of spirits and angels and guides, and oh, it's just absolutely beautiful. And I get glimpses of that in these sessions all the time. Like, I'll have a session with someone and they'll be like this little tiny, like almost like troll being, and they live in the forest, and then all of a sudden they'll move toward the edge of the forest, and they'll see these little human children, because I can't tell where they are, or if they're on Earth or not. And then all of a sudden they are like, I hear laughter, I'm gonna go see what it is. And it's these little human children, and I'm like, can they see you? And they're like, yeah, one of them can, the other one can't. So sometimes we have the sight to see into these other dimensions, and some of us don't. We're just like, yeah, I see my cupboards over here, but there could be like a troll, a brownie, and I think that's where a lot of these mythical creatures that have been woven through our history, they exist, they truly exist, and some of us have the ability to see them, and some of us don't. It's freaking fascinating. So you had the ability to see that, kind of ghostly garment or whatever, but for me, maybe I couldn't. I don't know. But yeah. It's amazing. It's truly beautiful.
Whoops. Thanks for the subscriber. Sorry about the sound. I forgot to switch this over. Yeah, it's really, when I was going through the course and it was giving all these options of things that could come up, so many things I had never considered. Like, you just always assume people are going to go back to a previous life, or that it's going to be something pretty natural, but sometimes they can be a cell or a rock or just things you would never think of, you know what I mean? Or sometimes they won't see, but they'll have a knowing or a feeling, or they'll just be able to hear because maybe they're in a dark place, or, and it's like, I hadn't considered so much of the stuff that's covered. I'm so glad it was all covered in the course, because it was like, I don't know, I would have, that would have been really weird to, have a rock come up or something, or a galaxy, or a star. There's just so many things that you just never consider, and I can imagine if it sort of caught you off guard, it would be like, what the heck is going on? Why can't they see their feet, or why can't they, they're in space right now, and it's like some of the things you just don't even expect to come up. And I thought the course did really good with sort of helping you to think outside the box during the session, to be aware of the things that could happen or whatever.
Absolutely. And that is a part of every day in the work that I do, and the clients that show up. We have literally zero idea where they're going. No idea. So all we can do is try to prep them that, okay, if you see black, it doesn't mean you're not somewhere. It just means there's an absence of visible light. You could be in a cave, you could be a seed buried in the ground, you could be in the womb, you could be floating in space, you could be all these places. Because I can say that because I've had clients show up all those places, and we never know where they're at until we guide them through, because we have to use other senses then. If we can't see, we have to feel. We have to feel the temperature. Does it feel like you do have a body, or you don't have a body? Do you feel like you have, there's a temperature? Does it feel like the black is a vast space around you, or is it like pressing in on you? And it's just absolutely really cool that you get trained how to navigate people through wherever they go, whether it's a planet that they've never imagined existed, in a body that they don't even have words to describe. I remember this one client, she was like, I think she had oh God, what did she have? She had 3 arms, 2 legs, 1 eye, this crazy body, spaghetti-like hair. And she was so happy because that was her at her home planet. And she's like, this is my natural body. And I was like, that is crazy ass. That is a crazy ass body. I'm sorry. But sitting without judgment, but in my head, I was imagining this body, and I was like, what? And this body was brilliant. It did so many cool things. And it's like, man, we have no freaking clue what's out there. We have no clue. And every day we get a little tiny crumb of the cool things that are out there. And yeah, like you said, being kind of prepared for how to navigate, these sessions, it's a game changer, because otherwise you sit in judgment. You're like, I'm doing it wrong, or they're doing it wrong, or, something. They're not doing, that can't be. You don't see those type of feet, or you don't see that. No, right. They do. You just got to deal with it.
Yeah. That's cool. So you have to deal with the whole unbiased on the fence thing too. Just sort of
always
take the information, put it on the shelf, and that's really cool though, because it's like, it seems like you wouldn't have the monotony of some jobs, because of it being such an array of different people with such an array of different experiences that they're having. And it's almost like you get to take these little mini vacations or journeys along with your client. um,
Absolutely.
so that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it truly is the most exciting work I can think of doing right now. And it helps people. It helps people every single day. Somebody's life is changed by the information they're getting every single day. And that's why I do it, because it not only helps people in that moment, but it gives them knowledge for how to help themselves in the future. And it's so empowering and it's so huge. And it's up to them what they do with that information. But if they actually use that information, game changer, absolute game changer. So I hear from a lot of people that, maybe they don't listen to their sessions for like 10 weeks. And then all of a sudden they go back because something stressful in their life happened, and they go back and they listen to it and they're like, oh my gosh, all the information I gave myself, because they forget it, it's so detailed. All the information I gave myself was totally applicable to what I've been facing the last 10 weeks. I wish I had listened, because I would have done this differently and this differently and this differently. And they're like, dang, I'm going to start listening to my session. So it's incumbent upon you to actually listen to your session right away if you do this work, if you do it, because the information is so helpful. The guidance is so beautiful, and it's for you and you specifically. And man, yeah.
That's really cool. So yeah, and another thing I think, when people have sessions, they might remember like the main overall session, but there's going to be details that they probably. This is what I've come across, and I've noticed people are like, "Oh, I forgot about that" or whatever. So
Yeah.
it's imperative to go back and really listen to the session again to capture those details while you're not sort of out of it, in the middle of the session, because I think sometimes you can be more out of it than you realize while you're
Oh
going
God.
through it, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. You think you're all there, and then by the time you wake up out of the session and you go use the bathroom, use the restroom the first time, you've already forgotten 90% of your session. Whoop, like that. And so, yeah, even if you were present and aware and accounted for, which is normal, you don't remember doo doo. Pretty much nobody does.
And I just have to just brag on your voice, because I did the group regression. I did it a day after you and Candace, but she wrote it and you
Yeah.
and wow, your voice just transformed into. I was listening to it while I was sending an email or something, so I knew like the whole beginning of it, and I was just going to rewind it and start it, getting a comfortable position and actually participate in it after I got done writing whatever I was writing. And so I actually went through it. I got to the end and I was like, dude, I don't remember that whole beginning part that I know I listened to beforehand or whatever. It was like I got one out of it. So I always tell people, I'm like, you don't have to worry about doing it at a distance. And it wasn't like I fell asleep. It was like, because you brought me back towards the end of it, you know what I mean? And I had these
Wow. Yeah.
visions and stuff. And so I think at some point, if someone's worried about their connection going down, if it's like a distance sort of thing like that, it's not like you'll never wake up, or you won't come out of it or whatever eventually, right?
No. Yeah. Yeah.
People
No,
worry about
it's
that.
just kind of like you fall asleep for a while. You just don't want to fall asleep in a bad dream,
Right, yeah.
So really you do, we don't want to lose connection. But yeah, if you do, it's just falling asleep. Like,
And one of the things you were talking about that I thought was really cool is, you said how you do it on video chat, but you're actually on the phone as well. So if the internet goes down or something, you still at least got the audio to still communicate. I'm like, man, that is such a great idea, because the
yeah.
internet can go down, but then you've still got the regular phone
Yeah.
connection.
Yeah. So there's a reason why I do that.
With the
Because
energies.
the internet went down a couple times, and just with talking, just in the interview and talking and stuff. And I was like, well, this is a good sign that I should actually pay attention to. And, I want these things to be successful. So yeah, I do the freeconferencecall.com. It's completely free and it's recordable. So we do that on the phone, and then I'm watching them during the session on the video. And then sure as crap, like 30% of the time the video goes down, because people are all over the world when we do these sessions. And I'm like, every time I'm like, thank God. And that's an example of information that came to me from my higher self too. Like just constant guidance. I get constant guidance from my higher self. Allison, do this. Allison, you should probably do that. And I know it's not me.
Yeah.
Because I can tell the difference. I'm like, no, if it's me, it'll be like, eat the burrito. go relax for a little while on the couch.
Yeah. I think early on before you start realizing that you're getting help like that, you're like, man, that sure was a witty joke I popped out there instantly. And it's like, that didn't come from you, man. You laughed right along with them because it was the first time you were enjoying it right along with them. And it seems like, but then you realize you're like, oh, my higher self has been helping me this whole time. And I just had no idea,
This whole time. And always, these sessions are about that. They're about recognizing. So yeah, they're about getting relief. They're about getting clarity for the client, getting help for the client, and also helping them recognize when they've been in contact with their higher self, what that feeling is like, and empowering them to use that going forward. Because that's what we want to do. We're in the empowerment game right now, because we're ascending to this being that can hold more of their higher self. That's what we're evolving into. And so anything that guides you more in that direction is something good, in my opinion. Anything that guides you to more holding in and recognizing and integrating more of your higher self within your body, within your consciousness, that's a good thing. So that's a good tool to use. But I don't want you to have to come to me to do that. So we just have these sessions, we unlock the door, if you will, and then I try to get information every single time in every single session. How can, if you were my client, how can Shane, outside of a session like this, connect more with their higher self? What are his unique steps that he needs to take? And for you, it might be, he needs to be more in nature, or he needs to, visualize this, and it'll give you an exact visual that you should do. And we ask, how often should he do that? What should he look for? What will he feel? And then they're like, and then he should trust, because that's the next step. Trust, do those things and start trusting the information and applying it to your life. And it will change everything. Just like that simple thing of me getting information about the free conference call. It was like, you need to use free conference call. I got that information. I started using that. I trust the information I get now, and I start using it, and it's a game changer. It's a game changer. Something as simple as that, complete game changer. So yeah, that is kind of the whole reason I keep doing this work as well, is because it actually helps people evolve into where they need to go.
Yeah, that's really neat that it's like, when you think of the implications of something so small like that, it is a complete game changer. It takes you back to that whole idea of the butterfly effect, And it's like that one little thing, that one little bit of information changed so much for you. And just doing that for clients all the time, whether they, it might be that they need to do more art or do more of their music or spend more time in nature, like you're saying, or whatever. But all of those things are going to snowball into big overall change in their life. So I know a lot of times when people look at the whole quantum healing idea, they're always kind of focused on information about everyone and what's going to happen with earth changes and stuff like that. But really, that's like a small part of the benefits of this whole thing for people, isn't it?
Right. I agree. That's always secondary. Primary is always the client's health and wellness and their belief systems, and clearing blocks that are holding them back and propelling them on a path that they signed up for, and learning their lessons and letting go of karma. That individual's health and wellness, that is always primary. That's primary to the higher self. So even if I was in the session and if I was the type of person that was like, yeah, screw this guy, I'm just going to try to get as much information as possible so I can share it. No, well, I'm not like that. And B, that wouldn't work. The higher self wouldn't give that information. So when we get little nuggets, it's all about the future or something that could help somebody else, you know, some other, you know, the Earth future or the galactic future or anything, or little pieces of information that can help others. It's always like buried inside of all of this other information that's very specific to the healing for that client. And so that's why it's like, it's hard to gather all this information, because it's not just like, here Allison, this session's for you, you alone, and for everybody else. No, that's not how it works. They're always kind of like the needle in the haystack inside all of these sessions. And then when they kind of jive and they all kind of say the same thing, then I'm like, wait, this is really interesting.
Yeah, it starts to paint this picture that you're like, man, these people don't even know each other. That was one of the things that freaked me out when I first started looking into Dolores Cannon, is that she was like saying how she could be on this side of the world and have a client, and then she'd be on the other side of the world, and then like the higher self or the super consciousness would like pick up where they left off with the last client. I'm like, dude, that's so weird, but we are really all connected with this higher consciousness, you know, and it's trippy to imagine it, and it's hard to wrap your head around, but it's hard to deny that sort of evidence that you see, you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. It's becoming harder and harder to deny that connection that we all have, that kind of soup, if you will, that's connecting all of us, that we're all kind of floating in, we're all responding to. It's here. And it's just like almost like I said, those frequency bands that we touch on. Well, that frequency, another person is touching on it, and another person is touching on it, another person is touching on it. And that's why you may see on YouTube four different shows that are on the topic that you wanted to talk about. It's all because you guys are all touching the same frequency at the same moment. And it's beautiful. And you'll see that in science, and the inventions that come over all across the world. You even see that with Dolores Cannon's QHHT. Mm-hmm. So she wasn't the only one who got this, who happened to go and do this hypnosis and access this kind of higher mind. Right around the same time, Brian Weiss got it too, with Many Lives, Many Masters. Just very much two sides of the same coin. You know, they're getting that same information about, if you go through this avenue, you know, through hypnosis, through this trance, you can access this higher mind and get information about, you know, you can get it about the person, or you can get it about specific events. You can get it about all this stuff. And it's fascinating. So yeah, they were touching the same frequency.
That's funny you said that, because I just came across Brian Weiss a few weeks ago, and there was a YouTube video that I think it was maybe an ebook of the book that you're talking about, but I was listening to it, and he, you know, where he was getting information about like why his dad passed and one of his kids, and I'm like listening to this, and I'm like, and you know, he's a professional, so on one hand he had to be careful, because of course the stuff was so outside of what's normal in the field that he had to be careful that, you know, he didn't ruin his reputation at the same time, because it was so new at that time. But it paralleled nicely with when I read Dolores Cannon's work. I think it was 3 Lives Remembered, where I think that was her first client.
Or 5 Lives.
Five Lives Remembered. Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah. And and how seems like she said she was like on a military base or something, and then like people were coming to hear the information, and it was like it was just so far out there. It's like, man, could this be real? You know, it's like, what the heck?
Yeah, it's like they were like, well, you can either watch Gilligan's Island, or you come over to my house and see where this lady goes. And that she went all over the place, and that was so new for everybody. They were like, what? And the how you know it's real is that the information that she gets, you know, in her sessions, if the person applies it to their life, it changes their whole life, because that person got healing. And just like with Brian Weiss, he was able to access that higher consciousness for the benefit of that client, for the benefit of that patient. Because in the book, Many Lives, Many Masters, this one patient that he had to go to a past life with, he didn't even believe in past lives. The patient that he went to a past life with accidentally was jacked up. He was trying everything for like 18 months to try to heal her in the traditional sense of psychiatry and psychoanalysis. And it wasn't getting anywhere. She was still had all these phobias and everything. And it wasn't until he accidentally went into a past life that she started getting healing. And they were like, whoa, there's something to this.
Yeah.
And then you can access this higher mind. And so it's always couched with the benefit of others. You know, you have to be doing it to help others. And so that's why I tend to trust it.
Does that happen a lot where people have fears and phobias, like he talks about, and like Brian Weiss talks about, where I think she had a fear of drowning, but in one of her previous lives, like she died in a tsunami type event where like water rushed in or something. Do people deal with those sorts of, or pains? Like, you know, I've got the shoulder pain that keeps returning to me. Could it be that, you know, I got my arm ripped off by like a lion or something in a previous life and I need to like go back and deal with that maybe to, I mean, do you deal with that sort of thing?
All the time, every day, every day. Every day is about finding what specific ailment, issue, or belief is holding that person back, where it comes from. So either this life, the past in this life, or the past in another life, and then finding out why, like what its purpose was, because often it had a purpose, either, you know, to help that client learn a lesson, or to rebalance karma, or to, you know, help propel them on a path that would get them to this step and this step and this step. And then we decide, you know, we ask, is that purpose still needed? Oftentimes, no. You don't need that anymore. It served its purpose. All right, can we get rid of it then? Can we get rid of it? And then the higher self will come in, and if they decide to get rid of it, they'll absolutely get rid of it. So, or they'll give the client clarity if the client's already dealt with it and they just have a question. Why did I suffer in this way? You know, what was the grand purpose of that? You know, I've dealt with the pain, but now I really want some clarity. They'll give them clarity as to what that was used for. So I had a client last week who had who ended up having arthritis in his feet. Very, very bad. Young guy, super active and everything, had arthritis in his feet. And it ended up being because he was holding on to all this grief over a loss in his life. And he couldn't, he felt that he wasn't able to grieve in the present because his wife needed to grieve first. And because they both experienced the same loss, and he was like holding space for his wife to grieve. But in holding space and not doing anything to get that grief out of his body, it actually landed. He held onto it in his body, and he ended up not being able to move, you know, his feet for a while. And so it was very, very important to know this, that anytime he experiences grief in the future, you have to move, you have to get it out, you have to release that energy, because it'll get trapped and it'll give you some sort of ailment. So always we're getting information like that pretty much every day, and it's so beautiful. There's nothing more beautiful than that, when we get something that helps not only him, but him, you know, not only giving him answers about the past, but giving him guidance for the future. And then it can be applicable to everybody else too.
That's amazing. It's like, because, you know, you often hear about people that harbor like unforgiveness, and it can like turn into ulcers or cancer or things like that, because it's just that resonance, that vibration, that, you know, it's a negative vibration they're hanging on to. And a lot of times they're doing, even if it's like something justified, like somebody did something really bad to them, it's still hurting them more than it's hurting the person that they have unforgiveness towards. But you really bring up a good point, that we can harbor other feelings or hold other feelings in that aren't healthy as well. So even though he was doing this admirable thing by like sort of staying strong for his spouse, because I imagine this happens a lot if there's like a loss of a child or something, where the husband wants to be the man, he wants to, you know, sort of stay strong for his wife and let her grieve and sort of hold down the fort, if you will, you know, but then he's really hurting himself because he never goes through the grieving, and it turns around. So yeah, I can really see this being real helpful for a lot of people. Yeah,
the stoicism that a lot of, specifically men, Well, there are cultures that do it. The Japanese are really stoic. I just spent a lot of time with my Japanese family in Hawaii, like last week and the week before. So they are stoic, man. Anyway, but typically in our culture, it's the men who are more stoic, and that means they're not talking. They're not showing any signs of what they're feeling, and by not talking, by not getting this stuff out of their body, even talking is a very small action, and the smaller the action, the smaller the amount of energy is released, but at least it lets some pressure off, just like the balloon that's about ready to pop. If you let a little air out, it's not going to pop. It's not in danger of popping. And so it's like, if you can talk about things as you're going through them, or work out, or write, or cry, that releases the pressure until you can actually commit more time and more effort to getting something moving through your body, whether it is loss, whether it is anger, whether it's resentment, whether it's just life, or illness. It's like you need to express. That's what we need to do as humans. We need to express in order to move that energy through. Now, the equation is that the bigger the movement, the faster that energy moves through your body. So that's why it's something like, okay, if I get into a fight with my husband or something, and one of us goes to the gym and we lift weights, or we go running because we both work out. That goes so far, because by the time that person comes back from the gym, it's like the fight never happened for that person. The other person who didn't go running is like still like, mother trucker. And then it's like, oh wait, it's my turn to go to the gym. And then it's just completely released. It's completely released, because those are big movements. Those are big, strong, powerful movements. I've had the higher self come in one time. Okay, so here's an extreme example. I had this one client. She was so freaking beautiful, Shane. So beautiful, ethereal, just like, it was like a little fawn was sitting on my couch. Just absolutely beautiful young woman. And she was wearing a cap, and she was wearing a cap because she was starting to go bald, because she was so ill that she'd started losing her hair. You have to be really ill as a female to start losing your hair at that young age. And so when we get into, and that was just one of her many symptoms. And when we get into the hypnosis, the higher self, we're asking about, her illness. What's going on with her? She's got this going on with her. Why? And they were like, well, this happened in the past in her life. She experienced this traumatic event and multiple traumatic events, and she's never, ever, ever, ever talked about it. She's never looked at it. She just kind of shuts it away and doesn't even look at it, doesn't write about it, doesn't express anything about it, won't touch it with a 10-foot pole. So what happened was, that's just sitting inside of her. And it's rotting inside of her, and it's just disgusting, like pus building up, and her whole body is shutting down because of it. And so I was like, okay, what can she do now to start healing? Because obviously she's here. She's desperate. She needs help, and she wants help. And they're like, well, she doesn't need to go back to the event and re-examine it. She needs to start actually, this is what we want her to do. And this was so funny, because it's so odd. They're like, we want her to go down into her basement, turn on like Beastie Boys, some really like raw music.
Rage Against the Machine's a good one.
And take a foam bat, and we want her to rage. We want her to, and it was like, it dropped a huge F-bomb. We want her to rage. And it was like, whoa, like the energy that was in the room was like, whoa. And it was like, she needs these huge movements. She needs power movements, because the bigger her movements, the more energy will get out. And within a month, she will notice such a difference in her health and her wellness. And she will feel this relief, and just like, like all the junk will come out. All the junk will come out with those huge movements. And it's like everybody gets a unique prescription like that. of what to do that will help them. And that's why I love this work. And so
That's really
it's not
cool.
all about information about the future and stuff like that, and it never is. That's always like a little cherry on top when we get it.
Yeah, there was actually I saw this a while back, but you could like rent this room where they put all this, uh, it's not fake furniture, but it's like cheap furniture where you can just go in there with like a baseball bat and just demolish the room, and to destroy the lamp and
Yeah.
just and help release all that. So that's funny that you mentioned that because that would be something I can imagine would be
Yeah,
helpful,
because I mean, it's like this energy is for so many people, including like imagine teenagers, right? I was a teenager. I needed to rage, man, and there weren't a lot of avenues for me to do that were healthy. And if we can create healthy ways for populations to get out, this stress or whatever, it'll be a game changer for people. It absolutely will. People need that. They need the permission to go and work out or get this stuff out of their body in healthy ways, or rage, but in a controlled environment, just so they start releasing stuff, releasing the buildup.
or even at the gym, the punching bag I can see could be really helpful. Just
Oh
go in
yeah,
there and
just try lifting a 60-pound weight over your head for about 2 minutes, and you'll you will let go of a lot of that energy. Holy crap.
Yeah, that's really cool. Another one that I think would probably be helpful is guys probably tend not to get one of those really good cries that is good to have to sort of release every now and then. I can imagine getting in that hypnotic state. You probably get a lot of guys that don't cry normally that can just sort of let it out, you know what I mean, and have these huge releases that just that alone would make them leave their feeling so much better that they were able
Yeah.
to let out that, because we're supposed to be tough and not cry. And I had a cry. I don't know. It was, I want to say 4 years ago or something, just like out of nowhere. Because I'll typically cry for other people. Like I'll be watching something that touches me and it's like happy or it's sad or whatever, and
Yeah.
it's not really for me. It's just because I like it's empathy for other people and watching what they go through or whatever. But when something
Yeah.
happens to me, it's not. I don't like cry for myself or whatever. But I had this. It was about 4 years ago, and like all this stuff came, and like out of nowhere, I just started like having this huge cry of just about everything in my life and all my regrets and everything. And it sort of caught me off guard because it was like I was talking to my wife. I felt a little bit embarrassed about it happening because it just kind of came out of nowhere, But just talking brought it on, and I felt so much better afterwards. It's like, wow, I just need one of these like every 5 years to let it all out. But I can imagine people go through that. Do they go through that a lot during the sessions? Like they
Yeah.
get to this point where they can release it?
I don't know about other practitioners, but for me, every single day, every single client cries. They either cry during the interview where they're just talking about their life and something is emotional that they're discussing, or they cry during the experience portion of the hypnosis, like whatever the higher self shows them before we contact the higher self even. Or say they experience a loss during then, or something absolutely beautiful, something touching, they'll cry during that part, or they'll cry during the higher self part when the higher self comes in and gives them guidance or healing or release something, or lets them talk to a loved one or something. Yeah, everybody cries during these sessions, every single person, and it is so healing, and it is absolutely necessary. And like I said, it takes that pressure off. It's like the release valve. Boop, you can let all of that stuff out. Boop, you can put it back on, and then, like you said, 5 years later, you need another. Yep, right on cue. Need another
Siphon it
cry.
off there.
I remember. So I'm not a crier. I hardly ever cry. That's just not how I emote. It
Yeah.
just I don't. It's not like I'm trying not to. I just don't.
Mhm.
And but every couple of years, and it's like every decade, really, every decade or so, something will happen that triggers me, and it's usually somebody else doing something, and I'm just like, scream like a banshee woman for like, I don't know, maybe an hour. some huge amount of time. And I remember last time I did it was in, I don't know, I guess that was a long time ago, maybe 18 years ago. Seems like yesterday because it was powerful. I remember the neighbors like checked in the next day and they were like, did you hear that screaming? Did you hear it? Did you hear all that screaming last night? Like, yeah, I did. I didn't admit to anything though. I'm like, deny. I'm not giving them an in to my emotional state.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's powerful when you let yourself just kind of burst, you know?
Yeah, I typically, when that's happened, I've gone on a drive, you know, and just open highway, you know, let out some screams or whatever. But, you know, and I found it's, you know, like I was bringing up earlier, Rage Against the Machine, the music or whatever, it's like, you know, kind of this rocky, rappy stuff. And, you know, if you can actually feel like you're in a sort of a pissy mood and you put that on and you actually end up feeling better. I don't know why, but I don't know. You just kind of move to it and let it out, and it's like you're siphoning off the top of it or something. I don't know, but it is therapeutic, definitely. That's why even cussing, you know what I mean? I know we've been working on our language and stuff, you know, or you say your higher selves we're working on you with that or whatever, right? But
yeah.
Because we were coming up with alternative words like corn and stuff like that I heard. Oh, corn, you know. But
my sister, I have this beautiful sister named Corey. Corey is very, very religious, always has been. And she's married to a priest. She's actually married to a priest, my sister. And she doesn't cuss. She never has. And so when she like, when she needs to cuss, she's always like, dog. And it's the funniest thing. I'm like, there is nothing, to me, there's no replacement for the F word. I haven't found one, but her dog is hilarious when I hear her say it, because I know she's really feeling something. And she's like, dog. What do you call your dog then?
That's right. That's wild that a word can be so offensive to somebody, you know. But
yeah, they can. And I told you earlier, I was like, before we were on the show, I was like, we can, you know, you were talking about turning anything into a cuss word when we're trying to replace our cuss words. You're like, we can turn anything into a cuss word. And I was like, yeah, I found a way to turn Jesus Christ into a cuss word, unbeknownst to me. I grew up in a very religious family, and then all of a sudden, like as an adult, I'm like, Jesus Christ. And I didn't realize how much I had turned it into a cuss word until my daughter started using it. And I was like, oh God, I gotta wait, that's another one. God, Jesus Christ.
Right.
Oh man, I've jacked them all up.
Yeah, that's funny that you said Jesus and she finished it by saying Christ or whatever.
I was we were pulling into a parking spot or waiting patiently for a parking spot to open up, and when it finally did, the person was taking their sweet time, and I was being a little impatient, and I had less patience in the past, and I was all Jesus, and without skipping a beat, my 4-year-old, she's 7 now, my 4-year-old in the back seat was all Christ. I was like, oh God, yeah, that's bad. That's bad, especially when I have such a religious family. I'm like, I should probably teach her some historical facts about Jesus, or I don't know, people will ride me for that. There are no facts. Well,
right.
Yeah, well, I'm going to teach her some things that it's not a cuss word.
Yeah, I just, it's kind of funny because, you know, like I said, my daughter's 25 and my son's 11, so I was asking him. I was way more religious when, you know, my oldest were growing up, and we went to church a lot, and they knew all the stories or whatever. So I was asking my son about one of the Bible stories or whatever, and he's like, no, I don't know that one. I'm like, what? How do you not know that one? I was like, oh my gosh, I've changed so much. Like my oldest kids have heard all of the stories. You know, they had the children's Bibles with all of their, you know, the cleaner, less bloody versions of stories or whatever. But they knew, you know, with the artwork and stuff, you know. But
we have those, yeah.
he like had no idea. I think it was the Abraham sacrificing his son Isaac story or whatever, and the angel stopping him or whatever. And he's like, no, I never heard that one. I'm like, what? I'm like, how do you not know that one? It's like, I mean, he knows like Adam and Eve. He knows the basic ones that like you pretty much have to be on a different planet not to know or whatever. But when you get into like the other ones or whatever, like he knows Noah and stuff like that. But you know, the other ones he had no idea. I'm like, oh my gosh, I didn't mean to like completely, you know, neglect these stories for you. I mean, at least know about them. You know what I mean? Even if it's like, you know, you don't have to subscribe to any of that. You know. But
well,
funny.
I'm the 5th kid in my family, and let me just tell you, that's a normal thing that happens. By the time you get around to the 5th one, you're like, oh yeah, let me just keep you alive. Have fun together. My dad's always like, we forgot you existed sometimes. Shut up, Dad.
Oh my gosh, my brother was always bitter about it. So you were the youngest of the group?
Yeah, me. Yeah.
Oh, okay, I was too. I was the baby of the family. Always called the baby or whatever. But my brother always had animosity about this whole thing. He was like, dude, I could never get away with that when I was your age. And I always had to clean on Saturdays before I could go out and play. And you get to just go. And he would just, even now, he still holds a grudge about the whole thing. I'm like, dude, it's not my fault that they took it easy on me and they were more relaxed. I'm glad I was the 3rd kid because, you know, his life seems so horrible to him the way he talks about it. You know what I mean? They were figuring things out with him by the time they got to me. I'm like, hey, he'll be all right or whatever. But
my brother, my oldest brother was like, you guys don't even know. We had the cheap bagged cereal, bulk cereal. And by the time I left house, you guys had like Golden Grams, which we didn't. They just bought that one time to trick him, to make him think that like all of a sudden when he moved out, we started getting like good stuff. He like held on to that for years. It was hilarious. Yeah, you can really get some mileage with that when you know what bothers the person the most, especially a family member. You can like poke that button forever, man. That's how my family is. We just poke each other forever. That still bother you? That still bother you? Dang it.
Do you have to, do you do sessions with your family very much? No?
They don't want anything to do with what I do. None of them, not even my husband. Nothing to do with what I do. And that can really smart sometimes because I think my mom had more interest in me when I was an accountant. When I was a boring ass accountant, she'll send out like emails about my sister. My sister works in the office. She got a promotion. Oh my God. Da, 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 da. And these are like family emails to like 30 people. I'm like, what in the world, man? Like, they don't have the receptor sites set up to handle the information that I get during sessions or to even understand what I do. They don't. It goes against their belief system.
Oh, okay. So
it just goes against their belief systems, and so in order to look at it, they would have to look at themselves, and so they just don't look at it. And that's okay. That was something that I had to deal with on my own. I had to be like, okay, it doesn't mean they don't like me. That's been established. They don't like me. No, I snuck in, you know. They're always like, dang it, 5th kid, we never planned on you. But no, they like me. But they don't want to touch that. They'll talk to me about parenting, you know, how's my kid doing, all that kind of stuff. But my job, no. They'll be like, are you going to New Mexico coming up? And what they really mean is I have my first conference coming up in Sedona where I'm the keynote speaker at the end of September. But they'll just be like, don't you have a trip to Mexico? I'm like, no, I'm doing this on this and I'm trying to do that, you know. So they're funny. They're in their own world, man, and I love them. And as long as I can like meet them on a couple interesting areas, then it's fine. But yeah, they don't want this.
What about like the Mandela Effect? Does any of them see that, or does that trip them out too much too?
No, they don't see that. They don't talk about that stuff. You know, they don't. They're in their own world. Yeah. I think that would be a really fun thing to talk about with them. If you know, kind of how sometimes it's the messenger that they won't listen to instead of the message.
Yeah.
I think I think I'm the messenger that they won't listen to because they know what I have to say disrupts their belief systems, and so they just kind of cut it off completely. Now, my brother, who's an MD, he's a doctor. If he mentioned the Mandela effect, they'd be like, "Really? Tell me more." It's kind of like Cyrano de Bergerac. If I could like have a little like speaker in my brother's ear and be in the other room and telling him stuff, and if he like said my words, they would totally believe him. They would be like, "This is amazing. Jeff is brilliant." Jeff is brilliant, but not.
Yeah, that's funny that you mentioned that because I'm sitting there thinking like how many times like you'll try to present something to someone and you know like you said it's the messenger so they reject it, but then they'll come across this meme and they're like, oh dude, look at this is so interesting. You're like, I was trying to tell you about that like a month ago and now you're gonna pay attention to the silly meme on Facebook that's telling you about it. You don't even know who made that. Maybe I need to start making memes and putting them on Facebook to get the message.
Yeah, if you can make a meme with a cat with a rainbow mohawk and he says something hilarious, then everybody's gonna listen. Shane,
Totally.
huh?
Totally. That's what we need to do. We need to start, you know, using the stuff that really gets them because you can share a cat picture or something and everybody hearts it, but as soon as you share like a Mandela Effect video, it's like nobody watches it. So it's
nobody wants that. They need like a funny happy narwhal swimming in a rainbow sea.
Yeah, that's so funny though.
But yeah, no, my parents, yeah, I think I'm the messenger that they don't want to listen to, and that's okay. I respect that. They're on their own path, and that's my job to keep myself happy and joyful no matter what the conditions are around me, no matter who believes what I believe or whatever. That it's my job to like take care of myself and to respect their path, and I have to do that with every single relationship in my life all the time. Okay, that's them. It has nothing to do with me. It's them, and they're on their own path, and all I can do is shine my light and for the people who need it, and the people who don't can look away.
I totally agree. Yeah, and it's almost like you get to a point where you're okay with that. You're like, you know what, you know, just they'll come around when they come around, or they won't,
or they won't.
You know,
yeah,
and it's just not something that I need to worry myself with because it can bring you down. It's like sort of like you're trying to save the drowning person and they're just pulling you down with them or whatever. Not to put in such a grim light like they're drowning, but I'm just saying that it, you know, when you think of it from the vibrations and trying to keep yourself in this sort of blissful state or whatever, it can wear you out, you know, if you try to do, because it's, I don't know, it's like with the religion, it's hard to, like with my sister and the debating and stuff, I just learned that it's better not to even go there because I can't even have a casual conversation. It will actually turn into a debate, you know, you can't even just have a discussion, so you just don't go there.
That's pretty much, this is interesting because my husband is from this family where they literally love to argue. They will actually be arguing about on the same side, but they'll be arguing against each other, but they believe the same thing. They just love to argue. That's like that's how they express their love. So I came from a family, we don't argue. We're chill. We're like, like we are easy. We don't argue about anything. Our family, no, that's not how it goes. So I can't talk about anything with this person that I'm married to unless I want it to turn into some weird argument. Even though we probably agree on the same thing, I'm like, like I feel attacked all the time because I'm like, I would have to argue about this. And it's so weird being around people like that who like turn everything into an argument. You're like, all I'm trying to say is I want tacos for dinner. I'm not trying. Why are you attacking me?
Totally. Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah. It's like you're on the same side of an issue. It's just like, I think this is the strongest point. No, I think this is, you know. But you're on the same side of the issue. That's funny.
I don't know why I got on that subject, but it's the sister thing. When you say like you have to almost not talk at some point unless you want it to turn into an argument.
Yeah.
That's just how some people are, man. They're just wired like that. They thrive off of like arguing, and
Yeah.
I'm so not there. Like, man, if I have to defend myself and argue, I'm not even gonna open my mouth. It's not even worth it.
Doesn't it seem like it's getting to where, and this is happening a little bit more, it's like you'll start a conversation about something and they'll think you're going in a different direction than what you are. It's like they're not even quite understanding. It's like you're trying to talk about the weather and all of a sudden they're like, why are you talking about chemtrails? But you never, I mean, that happened. I was talking about the fake news with my friend one day, and he's like, what are you, a trumpeter? I'm like, I never even mentioned the president. I'm just mentioning you can't trust mainstream media. And just the mere fact that I said that, he like equated that with I'm a Trump supporter. And I'm like, what is it? And it's like, which I have no problem with Trump or whatever, but I'm just saying that it was not even like the subject of our conversation. And it's like they, and it seems to be happening worse and worse. Like you just,
no, yeah,
that's
a 100% indication that person has their own dialogue going on while you're talking.
Yeah.
So they're listening to themselves, even though you're trying to talk. They have their own like monkey mind dialogue going on, and they're not being present for you. I see that all the time. Yeah, you're like, no, if you're actually listening to what I'm saying, you'll know I was just talking about this totally other avenue. Yeah, not that. So yeah, that's an indication. Yeah. They're not present. They're not focused, and they're not with you. They're just not with you. They're not listening to you. You don't have their focused attention.
It seems like that separation's getting worse and worse for me. I don't know if it's like that for everybody else, but just not being, understood or something.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I live in kind of a bubble right here where I have my clients show up, and they're pretty awesome, and they're pretty focused, and I get to have conversations with people like you and people who are of this higher mind. But I rarely go out and have conversations in public with people anymore unless I go to my parents' house, and I'm like, you're obviously not listening to me.
But yeah, you know what not to say there. Yeah, definitely. So what about the clients you come across? Do any of them ask about the Mandela Effect, or does it ever come up like where it triggers anybody to sort of do a QHHT session or a BQH session because they see reality changes?
That's definitely come up. People have questions all the time about that stuff. It's fascinating. It's enough that people need things like that in their life to wake them up, I think. And totally. if they have questions about it, it means they're paying attention that something is off, something just isn't right. And so that's really cool. If it gets them to have a session, or it gets them to kind of wake up a little bit more and start questioning their reality, I think it's fascinating. Yeah, I hear that all the time.
Isn't it? It's sort of relieving to me when I talk to somebody like you, or like Magenta Pixie yesterday, or people that seem like they're really awake and aware of what's going on, and they see the Mandela Effect, and it's like the people that are sort of the MSM, mainstream media watchers, and people like that are the ones that don't see it. You can start seeing this connection between those who are more awake and aware are seeing it happen, and it's not such, because some people get angry. They're like, why are you even watching the video if you don't believe it, or you're not, That's what I don't know. I don't get it. If you don't believe it's happening, why would you sit through the whole video and then spend all the time to write this hateful message to me when I know I see it happening, Yeah,
like, that's funny.
Your memories just suck. That's what the Mandela Effect is. And it's like, I don't get that part of it. That's a whole nother thing with it, what I mean?
I don't think so. Not at all. Hey, I haven't watched your show with Magenta Pixie yesterday. How was it?
Oh, it was really fun and exciting, and I've been reading her book, and it's been totally like synchronicity after and confirmations of things that, like we were talking earlier, like you just get these knowings or things in your head, and you think they're your own idea or whatever. But I've been reading her book and getting things like that. It's an excellent book, and I've gotten so many synchronicities. And you can actually you can get like the first 3 chapters on a PDF from her website.
Ooh,
so
cool.
I would suggest anybody read those 3 chapters for free, And then if they, ring true for you, then you'll want to get the rest of the book, But you can at least try the first 3 chapters. I
I
couldn't
think
wait to buy it
that's
after
brilliant.
that.
That's
Yeah.
brilliant of her to do that, actually. Yeah. How cool.
Yeah, and you can see if it resonates with you, because if it's like me, she was going over all the stuff I was dealing with, like with, all these YouTube channels getting taken down and information about that, because, that's definitely a concern as a content creator, and wondering, are they really going to suppress us to the point that, they're just going to start pulling anybody down that's not sticking with the main narrative. And so she starts with that. So I love that part. And then she goes into all this other stuff that I've been pondering, and I was like, I couldn't wait to buy the rest of the book. I was like, and it wasn't expensive, but it's a huge book. I think the paperback version is like 800 and something pages. So
Oh, she's been busy.
yeah, and she wrote it in like 6 weeks or something, she said.
What?
Yeah, and it was the beginning of this year. So when you're reading it, she's talking about stuff that just happened at the beginning of this year. So it's got that real current feel about it. So
Man, she must have like 8 hands. She's like, like 5 keyboards, typing away. That's amazing.
Yeah,
Wow.
she said she got snowed in February, so she had all this time in her house, and it just kept coming and stuff. And you can tell she's not just making this stuff up. I mean, it's just,
Yeah.
I knew that. I'm like, there's no way you got all this. How many times have you had to read it? Because it's so deep on parts of it that you just have to read it like several times, and you get something out of it each time you read it. So
That's that's the thing too. When you're an open channel for information, it's not that you're aware all the time what that information is. You're just trying to get that information out. And then when you go back and listen to it or read it or something, you're like, oh my gosh, look what came through.
Yeah.
It's fascinating.
Yeah, it's like she's a scribe or something. But yeah, that's basically what the BQH and the quantum healing actually helps with. It's like it's that same thing you deal with all the time. So
Absolutely.
That's why people have to re-listen to their sessions and stuff like that.
Yeah, because you have no clue what you've just said. How deep and how insightful and how beautiful and how impactful it actually is, until you go back and you listen to it, and then a week later you re-listen to it, and then a week later you re-listen to it, because something's happened in your life that now you have the receptor sites set up to apply that information, and you didn't know how impactful it was. It's endlessly interesting. And so that's cool that she has a book out like that too, because I bet it's the same way. It's the same stuff, the same type of stuff, man. I love this life.
We actually have 2 questions. I'll tell you them both, and you can answer them how you want. One question from Ronnie in Florida is, have you worked with any near-death experience clients? And the other question was if you've dealt with anybody that went completely back to source, like all the way back to, the light or whatever. So I'll let you answer them however you want.
Hey, Ronnie, what's up? Yeah. Actually, I have had several possibly 50 or so clients who have had near-death experiences. It's not rare for people to have those experiences, and it's not rare for people who are awake and aware and searching to have had those experiences, because that often propels them on a path that guides them to stuff like this, where they're just looking for more answers. They're looking for, like, it woke them up out of a life they were living and put them on a path. And for some people, it was like their near-death experience, and oftentimes put them in a coma, where this other aspect of them was able to even come in at that point and start living through their body that wasn't available to them before. They needed like integration time, so they had something like a near-death experience, and then incubation time for this other energy to take place. So really, really interesting stuff with near-death experiences, and always a huge catalyst for growth for each person, and to propel them on a path that they weren't on before, or they need some like fast movement down. So really cool stuff. And then going back to source, that happens quite often for people. Being touched with the light of source, it changes your whole life, because what we want to do is have moments like that inserted into our life, where we remember who we are at the core, and what that feels like to be home, and to be touching our essence, the essence of what moves through the universe, what connects us all, plant, animal, air, planets, the galaxy, the human. And it's so impactful to have had those moments, and they feel forever changed by that, forever changed. And sometimes they get information there, and sometimes they just get healing, but it's always beautiful,
That does
always.
sound
And
beautiful. Sounds like a
they take
nice
it with
break,
them.
just to
It is.
sit in that for a little bit and have that experience,
That's
like a
exactly
big
what it is.
hug from the universe or something. Like,
And it recharges them. It lets them, it reminds them of who they are, that this is temporary, who they are is eternal, and who they are is this bigger huge healing love energy. And so it reconnects them with who they are. It recharges them for the remainder of their journey. It's very powerful, very powerful. Lucky bastards, anybody.
yeah. Like, yeah, I mean, I was sitting there thinking, man, if you could have a spa like that where people could just go and hang out for an hour in the source light and stuff, that'd be freaking awesome, wouldn't
Man, you know,
it?
that kind of information has come through some people's sessions, that they're to create something that actually brings that energy to earth so that people can be exposed to it on a regular basis for just that purpose, healing and recharging. And it raises up their own vibration, raises up the light in them. So it's powerful stuff, and that's where we're heading.
That's cool. It's like we get put on the battery charger for a while or something. That's funny.
Yeah, exactly.
Someone's asking
Exactly.
about walk-ins. Do you have any experience that you can share anyway with walk-ins? People that say that, I'll just let you assume the
Yeah,
answer to the
actually, one
question.
of those people who had a near-death experience that was put into a coma, she woke up and she had a different energy signature. She
Oh,
had a
wow.
part of her soul that was living a different life. It needed to come into this human body, and it was described as a walk-in. Absolutely, absolutely. And then she was out of it for at least 3 months in a coma because of this accident. And so when she came out of the coma, she had this new energy, this new like vision of life, this kind of she felt different. So years later, when she's asking about it, she was like, well, why did I need, why did I have the accident, and then why did I have the subsequent coma, and why did I feel so different? And they were like, yeah, the subsequent coma was so that you actually had time to integrate that new energy into your system, so that you could get used to them and wouldn't just get rid of them. It's kind of like when you have a transplant, if you will, and you
That's
reject
interesting.
it. Yeah, so it gave her time, her body and her new energy time to integrate, and so her body wouldn't reject it. Fascinating stuff.
That's a mind
And
trip. That's really to
yeah,
just
it
think of the
really is.
implications.
And I think and there are so many different cases of walk-ins where the energy that and it's usually a part of our soul. It's a just a different fractal of our soul. And so it's not something that's foreign to us. It's not like a foreign invader or anything. This is something that's so deeply connected to us that it's just kind of like turning the crystal and getting a different shape, different light beam. And that light beam is going to start now coming into our life, because that's the energy that's needed either to propel us on our path or to actually hold a different vibration here on earth that's needed at this time. And so it's really cool when that happens, or really cool when we find out why that happens and what it's used for, and how that entity needed this energy, boop, at this time for the first 10 years, and then boop, needed this energy for the next 10 years, boop, needed that energy. And what we're finding through these sessions is that, what I'm finding, the theme that's kind of weaving through all of my sessions, is that more and more of us are starting to integrate those fractals of light into our human bodies, or at least communicate with them and get this higher dimensional information flow down into us. And we are supposed to get that information out to on this earth, because that information has a frequency. And it, as more and more people are seeing that frequency or are exposed to that frequency, that raises their light, and it starts them on their journey. And so what I mean is, like, I'll get an artist, and the artist will be getting information from this other version of themselves, and they need to actually start painting that, because when they paint that, not only does it send all this frequency into the painting, but when others view that painting,
Right.
it it activates something in them and starts them on a journey. So art is just one. I get that same thing from musicians. I get that same things from healers. So they need to start moving their hands in a different way and start creating different symbols, like it's like Reiki and energy work. And then I get that same thing through people who are designing interiors, and I get it through scientists and inventors. All of these people are getting the same information, that these other parts of them have been talking to them, and they need to start listening and start pulling in that information, because it will help the earth and it will help everybody who's exposed to it.
That is so fascinating.
Yeah, it is so fascinating. And that's what I'm going to be talking about in Sedona, just how what it actually means, where we're actually going as human beings, what we're evolving up to, and how being a whole human, that concept has changed for us. It actually, it's not just being spiritual and physical, it's being like all of these other parts of us accessing them and pulling them down.
That's really cool. It's like, this is the perfect time to be alive, in my opinion. It's like, the more I realize it, it's like I was sort of kind of hung up on, like Dan from Talk is Cheap, we were talking how you can just feel so dragged down by everything. But I'm starting to see things differently and to be more excited about being here at this time, and to realize this transformation is something we're going to look back on and be like, that was freaking awesome. I'm so glad I got to experience that, because I'm already seeing it.
Yeah, it's so fun. And it's like what I think you were saying, was it yesterday or the day before? I heard you talk about being in a band, right?
Mm-hmm.
And playing music, and how, like, when you look back at that time in your life, that was so much fun. Right? Crazy life. And that I think is what we're dealing with now. Like, it's crazy. It is crazy. Everywhere you look, it's crazy. Everywhere you look inside, it's crazy. Like, time is moving so quick, and we're being asked to do so much. And if we don't do that thing that we're being asked, we experience all this other crazy stuff.
Yeah.
If we resist, we experience crazy stuff. And if we allow, we experience even crazier stuff. It's just like a wild ride. But when we're done, when we're finally done, if there is ever a being done, or when the ride is over or slows down, we're going to be like, man, that was a blast. Let's do it again. There's no doing it again, I don't think. But
right.
We'll look back at it and go, that was amazing. And just keeping that, in the back of our head, or keeping that perspective, that higher perspective, will really help, I think, make this a fun ride during it. Just like kind of parenting, when you have a little kid, you're like, this is crazy, but if you keep that higher perspective, this is going to end someday, and this may be the sweetest time in my life, or the most funny, like, it's the most entertaining time in my life is watching my kid be crazy,
Right.
And it's like, as long as I keep that perspective, instead of the like, this is crazy, I can't handle it perspective, then I'm going to do it right. And I'm going to look back at it with like, oh, okay, I did that well. I paid attention and I had fun, I did it in joy and a high vibration, rather than like, survival vibration, Yeah,
that's totally true. I'm so glad you brought that up, because life is all about the fact that you can switch your perspective and totally enjoy something, or you can be annoyed by the whole situation. And a lot of times it's like not being in the moment, if like for instance, if you have to go pick up your crying baby, for instance, one day you're going to miss them being that little bundle of joy you can hold, So if you can just sort of be in the moment and say, well, all right, so I had to stop what I was doing and come over and hold my baby for a moment, but gosh, I'm going to miss this someday when, they're too big to pick up like this. So you just really savor that moment and enjoy it, even though you had to stop whatever you were doing to go handle that. Just enjoy it, because you can just switch your perspective and your thinking and turn something that seems like a chore into something beautiful that, just enjoying it while it's there. You know what I mean? So
it changes your whole experience. You have the power to change your whole experience. And by changing your experience and your view of it, you change everybody else's experience. That's kind of what I did with like my family. Like I said, they're not on the same page as me, never have been. That's cool. They're doing their own thing. Now I could use that and say, oh, they don't like me. They don't respect what I do. Who cares? you know what? I freaking love them. I think they're the funniest people alive. I'm going to go hang out with them and I'm going to enjoy it. And I don't give two craps if they ask about my stuff, because I have the whole world asking about my stuff. I have you asking about my stuff. I don't need them to ask about my stuff. And that's cool, you know, and that just switching that perspective made our lives so much smoother, made our interactions so much more fun, because I'm not waiting for them to ask me about something. You know, I'm not like, and I'm not getting resentful when they don't. I'm just enjoying them and how funny they are and how silly they are and how, you know, sometimes rigid they are. Like, to me, it's like, they're in their own world. Screw it, you know?
Yeah. A lot of times we set ourselves up for failure like that and disappointment because we have these unrealistic expectations. It's like, dude, they never got me. Why do I expect that they're going to get me this time? Let's just adapt to how we know they are, you know what I mean? And just go from there and control your life and your situation, you know. It's totally within our power.
It changes all interactions when you can do that. All interactions. And like I said, it has far-reaching effects. So when you can change your perspective, you change the experience for everyone around you, because you are so powerful. You are so powerful. You are affecting people around you, whether you know it or not. You are having an effect on them. So when you change your perspective and you change how you view life, you are affecting their whole experience with you. And that's how we start raising up the light.
Totally.
Each person doing it one by one. I'm always so humbled by how important each person is in this life. There's no client who is more important than another one. There's no client who has a mission that's more important than the next one, or the one before them, or the one after them. No, every single person in this world is so important. Their light, their unique light, and their unique essence is hugely important. So when just one person wakes up, it's huge. It's huge. It's so powerful, and you affect millions. You affect millions. It reverberates, you know, like the little drop in the pond.
Oh, right. The ripples. Yeah.
The ripple effect. Yeah, that's what I was going for.
I saw it in my mind.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, the ripple effect.
So, okay. So, yeah, even if your family doesn't want to hear, you're always welcome. We always love to hear from you. In fact, if you don't do a video, you know, for a while, people are like, hey, have you heard from Allison? She hasn't done a video in a while. So people love to have you put your videos out. And if you disappear for too long, even I start hearing like, look, I know we're not like talking every day, you know what I mean? Don't think that, but yeah, I know that you're okay. And I was like, yeah, she's okay. She's doing her thing or whatever. But,
yeah, you know what I'm doing right now. So, I am spending all my free time just trying to gather the information from my videos, or from not my videos, from my sessions, trying to find those needles in the haystack so that I can incorporate them into this presentation for Sedona. So it's all my free time is spent doing that. And it's hard because every 5 minutes I'm interrupted.
Oh, totally, yeah.
By my family or something going on. And so I'm like, I lost it again. So yeah, I have all this information for videos. Every time I listen to something, I'm like, great video. And then I'm like, can't stop and make a video. I have to keep going with this. And so I'm really excited about that. I'm really excited about getting on stage and getting a presentation done, and hopefully doing like a past life, a group regression during that presentation too, to kind of give people an example of how, like, what their soul fractals are, what their parallel lives might be, you know, trying to introduce them to that. And then seeing what they come up with. And so I'm super excited about that, but that's what's been stopping me from making videos lately.
Oh, I totally get it. Yeah.
Oh,
you're
man.
Totally busy with that. And then, of course, you're busy with your sessions. So how can people, if someone does want to come and check out the whole Sedona event, where can they get more information about that?
Yeah, so that's, I think it's transformationalshiftevents.com is the website. Okay. And it's Friday, September 28th, Saturday, September 29th, and the 30th. So it's that weekend in September in Sedona.
Transformational
shiftevents.com, I think. I really should have that.
I'll double check it and make sure it's right.
But yeah, it should be really fun, because there are some amazing people coming to Sedona to not only speak, beautiful, wonderful speakers there. I'm not talking about me. I'm talking about like all the other speakers that are going to be there. Like really cool stuff. Like Sonia Barrett is going to be there, and she's just amazing. And Clifford Mahudi is going to be there, and he's amazing. And lots of native people are going to be there, either as guests or as speakers. And it's a really cool event. It looks like. And then on top of that, I have really cool people coming in just to meet each other. So we have Lauren Hansen is going to come in, and you know Lauren, of course you had her on the show.
Yeah.
That chick is awesome. She is off the chain, man. I cannot wait to meet her in person and just like have a beer with her and drop some F-bombs with her. I will be dropping F-bombs. I don't care. I'm trying to switch from JCs to F-bombs. I gotta switch back again. And then like I think Dan is coming in. And then
Talk is Cheap Dan, right?
Yeah. And
awesome.
Carrie and Tiffany are coming in. And then I have several friends and clients that are coming in. Carrie and Tiffany are from the Joyride show on YouTube. They're coming up from Houston. And I'm so freaking thrilled. And I wish you were coming, and any of you guys out there who are in the chat room or around, if you're coming, please just say hi.
I'm hoping for a miracle. I still got a few weeks left. The 28th of September, right? So I did add a link in the description as well as in the chat. So anybody watching this later that's interested in more information, that is definitely the website. I'm here looking at it.
Good.
It looks fun.
I would love for you to come. That would be so fun. Oh my gosh. Because it's like, I don't know if you've ever seen the Blues Brothers, but I grew up watching the Blues Brothers. We played it at least 5 times a year, every year of my life in my family. And so all the lines were known by all of us our whole life. And so when people started saying that they were coming to Sedona, certain people, it was like, man, we're getting the band back together. We're getting the band back together. Even though the band has never met in person, we're getting the band back together. And it's like the more people that come, the bigger the band is. It's like, oh my God, the horn section is arriving. this is amazing.
I've been thinking that. I was like, man, that'd even be so cool to have like a little get together and a little video, maybe broadcast live from there and stuff. I don't try to turn everything into content, but I'm just saying, I know that the viewers would totally enjoy like a little sneak peek behind the scenes at the event and stuff like that. So
I want the viewers to come. I want you to come. I want I love meeting people. I love talking with people. I love laughing with people, obviously. Like to me, it's like, totally. If I could just laugh in your face constantly. I'm so happy.
No, that's
totally the best feeling in the world, man. Oh man. I can't. Can you remember, have you ever laughed so hard you peed your pants?
No.
What?
I think, no.
Let's make that happen.
I did go out.
Sorry.
It's about to happen now, I think. Actually, no. We did go out to eat once after church, and one of the ladies with us was laughing so hard. Actually, I missed this. I ended up not going that day, but my sister and my mom said she laughed so hard she started getting choked up, and she actually threw up in the restaurant. And I was like, oh my God, that's just horrible.
No, that's not good. I don't want to see throw up.
Right. No, I know, but it's just like, I don't know. It seems like if you felt like that was coming on, you'd be able to like, all right, this isn't fun anymore, I'm about to throw up.
No, yeah, but you're just, your body is overcome with it. Overcome, man. Yeah, I actually laughed so hard I peed a couple years ago because it was some crazy thing going on with my kid, and then my sister, my Japanese sister, and my kid, and like there was some crazy thing going on. We were laughing so hard. Eventually, I walked away, and I had peed my pants. I didn't realize I had peed my pants. I was like, I literally laughed so hard I peed. Damn it! But I love that. I love just having fun. I love laughing.
I've laughed so much that like my jaws begin to hurt, but that's happening right now. So it's like, that's great. And I've noticed I'm getting these real bad crow's feet. I'm like, oh my gosh, I spout so much I'm getting crow's feet. That never happened before. I'm like, that's okay though. It's better than the mean,
Yeah.
angry ones, right?
Yeah, these
so
laugh
funny.
lines are real, man. These are real.
Right. It's better to have the happy wrinkles than the angry or sad wrinkles. So I'll
Yeah.
take the crow's feet wrinkles any day, I guess.
Yeah, there you go. That's good.
So that's awesome. Yeah, I hope I can make it out to the event, and it's been wonderful having you on again. Maybe you can touch base while you're there or something. I'm just kidding. I know you'll be way too busy. But
I would like to pray for a miracle.
yeah.
Yeah, I'd
That'd
like
be
to
awesome.
pray for a miracle that Shane is able to come out there. That would be so fun. So, dear Lord Jesus, if you're listening, dear God, please open up a pathway for Shane and the ability for Shane to come out to Sedona to meet with all these like-minded people and to share the messages and share the experience with his people. See? Prayer done.
Amen.
Amen. Amen. I put it out there now.
And everybody says, amen. All around the world, people are agreeing with
Amen.
us. So that's awesome.
Yep, because you going out there, you shine, you raise up your own light quotient, and then look, you are in a medium where you're sharing this stuff all over the world. So I can see it being a really good thing for you to come out there.
Totally. Yeah.
I'm just putting that out.
I could totally make it out. I could make it happen if things worked out right. So, I mean, I don't have anything on the schedule, is what I'm saying.
Hey, see, it's already.
Things are already starting to work out. I don't know.
Let's do this. Yes, I love it. So even if every person, even if each person put in $5 into your PayPal, each person that listens to this program put in $5, that could buy you, the plane ticket, that could get you there. If people put in $10, that's your hotel stay, that's everything,
Oh, yeah, because we got 304 people there. I'd be able to definitely get on one of those half-price ticket things. If I'm flying alone, I can probably get one of the, the seats between a couple of people that are just happen to open up, and I'll just sit there just be totally happy, too. Like, hey, what's going on, guys? Yeah.
You can sit on somebody's lap.
Get in someone's dog cage. Do you mind? I don't mind.
We don't mind. So yeah, let's put that call out there. If each person was able to put in $5 in your PayPal is the link up on this?
Oh yeah, it's down below.
Okay, if each person was able to put in $5, Shane gets to go to Sedona.
And I will report live from there, so you get to see some behind the scenes. Unless they're like no cameras, I'd be like, sorry, they said no cameras, but I doubt they'll be like that.
Yeah, you can report live when we're partying.
Right? Yeah, or from the parking lot.
Shoot, man.
Selfies from the parking lot,
Yeah,
and I can
There's
Uber
gonna be
everywhere.
Some
so
really cool things going on because my buddy Mitch, he's part of the band. He's like, I got information. He received information that we need to go to the vortex down there, sun up, sun down, and do certain things. And there's a couple of us who need to do these certain things, and it's like there's gonna be crazy stuff going on all the time on that trip. Guarantee.
So is it it's a 3-day event, 2-day event, or what is it?
We can make it into a 4-day event if we want to. No.
Oh, okay. I just didn't know if it was the weekend, like Friday, Saturday, Sunday, or Friday, Saturday.
It is Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I'm speaking Saturday, and then there's some stuff going on Sunday and Friday. Yeah.
Okay. So
yeah,
even if I could come in on a Saturday and leave on Sunday or something, I don't really have to stay there the whole time. So. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Catch it right in the middle.
Whatever you need. But let's get Shane there, everybody. Let's flow some energy to him.
Looks like there's almost 24 speakers there. That's really nice.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Really cool people.
All right.
I'm excited.
So we'll see what happens, and it could be really fun.
Yeah, it could, man. You're going to Sedona.
I'm gonna miss the road trip part of it. I do like to travel on the road, but I think I checked it was like 16 hours, so I'm definitely gonna have to fly. I don't have.
Yeah, unless you have a road trip buddy,
Right.
That's a long haul to do alone, and you don't want to be an accident waiting to happen.
Right. Falling asleep because I love to sleep while I'm driving on long trips.
Oh Lord, yeah.
Well, thank you so much for coming on, Allison. It's always a blast to have you on. And
Oh man. Yeah, thanks for having me, and thanks for always being such a light in this world. You really are incredible. What you're doing is incredible. And the proof is in, not only how often you're doing it and how high of a vibration you keep, but all the people who are in your chat room who are just always spreading love and light. And that's because you're setting the tone for that. You guys all are. And it's just such a brilliant thing to see. So thank you for all your hard work and the light that you're spreading. You're changing the world, man.
It's my pleasure, and I feel honored to do it. And I think it's great, like you're saying. I see all these other people around, and it's like we're all a big team. I might be the face on the screen, but it's like we're a group. I'd be nothing by myself sitting here. So
yeah, exactly. And every single one of you guys in the chat or just listening to this, you guys are all so powerful. You're changing this world, whether you know it or not. You are
totally
doing an amazing job. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for even if you just do one nice thing every day.
Yeah.
It is hugely impactful, and you're changing this world. So thank you for being there, and thank you for spreading the light wherever you are in the world.
Definitely. Totally agree. Oh, Jose just showed up. She's like, just showed up. We love you, Jose. You're going to have to watch it on replay, though. She just shows up at the end. I just missed it. She probably woke up from a nap. But yeah, we love you, Jose. I was wondering where you were.
Yeah, Jose, what's up?
All right, we will. I guess you got kids getting me home soon and stuff, so I will let you carry on with, or a kid, I guess you say, right?
Yeah, I have to make that appointment for her to get her permanent cast on. It's what I'm supposed to be doing.
Get some chopsticks and stuff for her, scratch her arm.
Sticking the chopstick in her cast.
Yeah, poor thing. It sucks to have to deal with that. Well, we'll send her lots of love. You guys send lots of love and light to Allison's daughter.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, she's having the time of her life.
Just taking it in stride.
Yep. She's 7.
Well, lots of love and light to everybody in the chat, and we'll see you on the next one. Thank you so much again, Allison. Have a good one.
Bye, Shane. Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Peace. If you'd like to support the work I do, go to paypal.me/UOTF. Thanks.